Okay, so welcome. We're well underway with the first day of our annual energy conference, this time the 30th. Bringing 2,000 investors and companies, company executives together here in cloudy Oslo. Today the focus has been on energy, E&Ps, oil services. With me I have Tom Erik, who opened the session this morning. Tom Erik, what was the focus in your introduction this morning?
We started focusing mainly on the macroeconomic outlook in the oil industry and throughout gas and also electricity markets. You see strong demand, high prices, and starting to see in some of these sectors also lack of new supply coming in. So you have a electricity price that is 2-3 times what it used to be in Germany, of course due to a lot of the things we know has happened there. Gas prices in Europe are twice what they was pre-COVID, and oil prices also very solid without seeing a supply response from the US, for instance. So we see quite a high potential there. In addition to that, we focused more than in recent years on services as well, which are looking quite strong now.
Yeah, because that's kind of the, in my opinion at least, when we glance through the presentations and talk to the companies today, I think the tone or the sentiment or the confidence among the oil service companies, that's maybe the biggest change from last year when they were optimistic but maybe didn't really believe in it as much.
I think so too. I think last year was a lot of hope, but I think they had a pretty similar hope, for instance, in 2019 that didn't play out. So I think they kind of learned their lesson by that, but now was pretty obvious that more and more of them are basically a bit more sold out on the near term and see capacity constraints in the industry benefiting them after close to 10 years with supply or capacity reductions.
Yeah. And as a 30-year, we had the Keynote panel today as the 30-year anniversary with some interesting people. What was your key takeaway from that?
I think it was interesting from my point of view, looking a lot at the energy producers, was Equinor and was the Lundin Group, and how they are thinking about basically Lundin also base metals, right, in the energy transition, how important that will be. And
Mr. Andreas Sohmen-Powell, who's the chairman of the BW Group, they have 9 publicly listed companies with close to $10 billion of market cap. I think him personally or his group is the outside of the Norwegian state, they are among the biggest dividend receivers with Hafnia, with BW LPG, etc. And I think his focus was interesting. It's of course on how you take those dividends, how you take that capital, because they also invest heavily into renewables, into various parts of clean tech, of renewable energy. So to hear those perspectives, and of course he really likes his old kind of legacy businesses. He sees the returns there. He sees that there's an underinvestment going on there as well, leading to high returns, more stability in many ways. So I think to have him in Oslo, he hasn't really been here before, at least not on our conference. It's never worked out. He's based in Singapore. That was interesting. So that will be my highlight. And of course he has a number of his companies also presenting here this year.
Yeah. So I know you asked him where do you invest right now. What was his answer?
No, he's talking about, you know, the expression of chewing gum and walking at the same time. So to be able to do two things, right? So in shipping, they're investing in some of his companies in more kind of transitionary vessels, dual fuel engines, sort of making the commodity shipping business more ESG friendly, but doing so with firm, you know, returns in mind.
Focus,
So there's no kind of this is not something you do to make the world a better place. There's also return focus. But of course, I think he also said, you know, he has a number of private renewable companies, and he said explicitly that, you know, in 3, 4, 5 years time, more of those are likely to be public. So of course that's also something
because they got bigger over time, basically, wasn't it?
Exactly.
That one of the arguments. I think also it was quite interesting the way he looked at it, that you know, you have to acknowledge that as owners, there is a lot of capital going into renewables, and that basically also a bit what we focus on in the morning. Didn't touch on earlier was, you know, how fast, for instance, solar is growing globally now, 40% faster this year than what was expected last year, for instance. Yeah. But still, how hard it is with all that capital competing for opportunities. So I feel like that is still the place where, you know, if you have a great idea, it's the easiest place to find funding. Yeah. Despite kind of a bit more difficulty here in the stock market and valuation-wise than previous. Yeah. So tomorrow there will be a focus on shipping.
No, so tomorrow, I mean, shipping is also an integral part. We've seen that through COVID, how important shipping is as a part of the, you know, overall supply chains and not least within the energy supply chains. And so tomorrow we have 25 shipping companies presenting. Of course, there was an optimistic tone last year. It's going to be optimistic this year because they've had, you know, at least tankers and gas carriers and predominantly those two. Have had very, very good years, not least last year and this year. So I think the optimism will be, you know, similar. Of course, valuations, share prices are higher. They paid out a lot of dividends, but the order books haven't really picked up to the extent you could fear, given how, you know, the ship owners have a tendency to order during good times. So I think there will be focus on low order books, still kind of slowly, of course, uncertainty in the global economy, but still firm, but slower, but firm demand growth, and of course capital allocation. That's what we focus on. It's the same in energy, right? In oil, E&Ps, the ones with the intentions and then proving that they can pay out everything to shareholders. Those are the companies that are being rewarded.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we look forward to tomorrow as well, and I think we will leave it with that.
Thank you.